Welcome back. We are continuing our journey through the Wise Woman Code by Michelle Rice. And if you've been with us, you know we've been methodically, step by painstaking step, working through part 1.
All about the mind.
Exactly. And honestly, it feels a bit like boot camp. We've gone through 8 chapters of just pure mental discipline. And today we hit chapter 9, which it feels like the final exam. The title is Master Emotional Intelligence.
It is the final exam, in a way. Or, maybe a better way to think of it is this is where the rubber meets the road.
Before we jump into the how of this chapter, I think we kind of need to look back at the what of the last few weeks. Because Rice structured this very, very specifically. She didn't start with emotions. Why not?
Well, because you can't govern a storm if you haven't built a shelter first.
Right.
If you look at the progression, it's architectural. Chapter 1 was just awareness, waking up.
Okay.
Chapter 2, breath regulation, that physical anchor. Then we got into mental direction, disciplined language, discernment.
Embodied release, return, and then last time, sustaining calm in chaos.
That is a massive amount of scaffolding.
It is.
And it was all for this moment. Because while Chapter 8 was about stabilizing your environment, the noise outside Chapter 9 turns the camera around 180 degrees. It's all about stabilizing the inner world.
And this is the shift to what she calls self-governance.
Yes, self-governance.
I have to admit, when I first read that term, I bristled a little bit. It sounds so political or just rigid, Like I'm supposed to set up a police state inside my own head.
I can see why it would feel that way. But think of governance less like a police state and more like a steering mechanism.
Okay.
Without it, you're not driving the car. You're just a passenger in a vehicle that's going, 90 miles an hour.
And the engine of that car is emotion. Rice opens with this maxim that really sets the tone here. She writes, emotions are powerful. They are not the enemy. They are energy.
And that distinction is it's vital. Energy, not enemy.
But this is where I get stuck, and I think a lot of people listening might too. We live in this culture that just worships authenticity. We're told that to be real is to be raw. If I'm angry, I should show it. If I'm hurt, I should just bleed. If I start governing my emotions, aren't I just being fake? Aren't I just polishing a veneer so I'm easier for other people to deal with?
That is the fundamental tension, isn't
Yeah.
it? The fear that regulation equals, robotism.
Yeah.
Or that managing your feelings is just a fancy word for lying about them.
Yeah.
But Rice is arguing for something very different. In the code, emotional intelligence isn't a personality trait. It's not about being the nice one.
Right.
It's defined by 4 very distinct actions.
Lay them out for me.
First, recognizing an emotion without becoming it. Second, understanding the emotion without surrendering to it.
Okay.
Third is regulating the nervous system before expressing the feeling. And fourth, responding consciously instead of just reacting impulsively.
Okay. Recognizing without becoming. That sounds a little philosophical. What does that actually look like?
It's the difference between saying, I am angry, and I am experiencing anger. When you say, I am angry, you're identifying your entire being with that temporary state. You merge with it. And when you merge with it, you lose all perspective.
So if I merge with the anger, I can't see anything but the anger.
Exactly. Unregulated emotion acts like a filter on a camera lens. If you're in a rage, that filter is red. You look at your partner, your boss, your kid, and everything they do just looks like an attack.
So you're not seeing reality.
You're seeing the distortion created by the emotion.
Regulation isn't about stopping the feeling. It's about taking that red filter off so you can see what's actually in the room.
Precisely. Feeling is human. You will always feel. But governance, that's strength.
Yeah.
Because it preserves your discernment. If you act while that filter is on, you will almost certainly destroy something you didn't mean to.
That brings us to that distinction she makes between suppression and regulation. Because I think when people hear don't react, they assume Rice means shove it down and smile.
Which is just the fastest way to make yourself sick. She is very clear about this. Suppression is not the goal. Suppression is like holding a beach ball underwater.
Right.
You're expending this massive amount of energy just to keep the emotion invisible. And eventually, your arms get tired, and that ball is going to launch right into someone's face.
I have definitely been hit by that beach ball.
I think we all have. Regulation is different. Regulation it's managing the flow. Think of a hydroelectric dam. You're not trying to stop the river. You are channeling the water so it generates power instead of just flooding the valley.
She talks about the dangers of the extremes here. ego inflation versus self-erasure. And I think that self-erasure part is going to hit home for a lot of women listening.
It is a massive cultural conditioning. Self-erasure is this habit of suppressing your own emotional reality just to maintain the comfort of others.
The peacemaker role.
Taken to a toxic level. You don't want to be difficult. You don't want to cause a scene. So you effectively vanish.
You just absorb the shock for everyone else.
You do. And on the other side, you have ego inflation. That's the whole, I feel it, so I say it, and if you can't handle my truth, that's your problem mentality.
Which is chaos.
Pure chaos.
It feels powerful in the moment, though. Yelling feels powerful.
It feels intense. And we often mistake intensity for power, but it's actually a loss of control. Rice frames the solution as a kind of logical equation. Emotion without direction becomes chaos, but direction without emotion becomes rigidity. You need both.
Strength and softness.
Balance. Emotional balance does not mean the absence of feeling. It just means wise management of the energy.
This is where the chapter gets really practical, and also where I had my big aha moment about the structure of this whole book.
Really?
We've been collecting all these tools, breath, visualization, language, and I'll be honest, sometimes they felt a little disjointed. Like, okay, I know how to breathe, so what? But here, she brings them all together.
This is the integration point.
Yeah.
Chapter 9 is where you finally open the toolbox.
So let's walk through a real-world scenario, because it's easy to talk about this in the abstract. Let's say I'm in a meeting, and a colleague, let's call him Gary, decides to take credit for a project I spent 3 months on, right in front of my boss.
Okay, a high-stakes scenario.
My heart rate just spikes, my face gets hot, and my immediate instinct, my authentic instinct, is to interrupt him and say, "Excuse me, Gary, you haven't lifted a finger on this since March."
Which is a reaction.
Yeah.
And what happens? It likely makes you look defensive and petty, even if you're right.
Right.
So let's apply the wise woman code. The moment Gary speaks and you feel that heat, that's chapter 1, awareness.
Yeah.
You notice the physiological shift.
Okay, I notice it, but I'm still furious.
Of course. Your amygdala, the threat center of your brain, has just slammed the emergency button. It wants to cut power to your prefrontal cortex, which is your logic center.
Oh.
This is where chapter 2, breath regulation, comes in. You take that measured breath.
But why does that matter? I'm still mad.
It matters because the breath is a circuit breaker. By forcing a slow exhale, you are manually overriding the amygdala's fight signal. You're keeping the circuit to your intelligence open.
You're refusing to let your IQ drop just because your heart rate went up.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm breathing. I haven't yelled at Gary yet, but now my mind is just racing. He always does this. He's trying to sabotage me. I'm going to get fired.
That's the spiral. And this is where chapter 3, mental direction, and chapter 4, disciplined language, come in. You catch that catastrophic narrative, I'm going to get fired, and you stop it. You don't let the mind drift into fiction. You stay in the room.
So I'm using all these tools to stabilize myself while the event is still happening.
Exactly. You use chapter 6, embodied release, to relax your shoulders so you don't look aggressive. Use chapter 5, discernment, to listen to what he is actually saying versus what you fear he's saying. You're layering these defenses in real time.
It sounds like a lot of work to do in 10 seconds.
It's a skill. It takes practice. But consider the alternative. The alternative is exploding at Gary, looking unstable, and losing your credibility.
Yay.
Emotional intelligence isn't a magic trick. It is the application of mental discipline to preserve your authority.
Authority, that's a key word there, because when you react, you hand your authority over to the person who triggered you.
100%.
Yeah.
If Gary can make you scream, Gary owns you. If you stay governed, you keep ownership of yourself.
This leads to that mindset shift she calls the teacher mindset. Instead of judging the emotion, she says we should interview it.
Yes. The core question the wise woman asks is, what is this emotion teaching?
Which is so hard to do when you're seeing red. What is this teaching me? It almost feels dismissive of the pain.
It feels counterintuitive. I get that. But it's the only way to move from, say, victimhood to agency. If you feel envy, for instance.
Envy is the worst. It feels so petty.
It feels shameful. But if you ask, what is this teaching? Man, envy usually teaches you about a desire you haven't admitted to yourself. It points to a goal you actually want. If you feel sudden anger-like with Gary, it is teaching you that a boundary has been crossed or a value has been violated.
So the emotion is just data. It's like a notification on your phone. You don't have to throw the phone across the room. You just need to read the message.
Exactly. And the strategy involves delaying your response until you have read the message clearly.
But okay, let's play devil's advocate again, because I know what some listeners are thinking. This is all great, but what if Gary's actually a predator? What if he's cruel? There's this fear that being emotionally intelligent just means being a doormat who analyzes their feelings while getting stepped on.
And this is a critical distinction to make. Emotional intelligence in the Wise Woman Code is not about passivity. It includes, and it absolutely requires, boundaries.
But how does that work with compassion? We talk so much about being compassionate.
Compassion does not eliminate discernment. Think of it like a property line on a house. You can have compassion for your neighbor. You can understand he's having a breakdown. You can wish him well. But that's not mean you let him drive his truck across your front lawn.
I love that image so much.
You have a sense?
Mm-hmm.
Compassion is understanding why he's driving the truck. Discernment is knowing he can't park it in your living room. Rice puts it perfectly. She feels deeply. She thinks clearly. She chooses wisely.
Chooses wisely. That implies action.
Yes. Sometimes the wise choice is to say, Gary, let me clarify my contribution to this project. But you say it from a place of cold, hard stability. You don't say it with a shaking voice or with tears in your eyes. You say it with authority.
And that is the difference between reacting and responding. One is just messy, the other is strategic.
And that strategy is what builds what Rice calls stable terrain.
Talk to me about stable terrain.
The goal isn't just to survive the meeting with Gary. The goal is to live a life where you aren't constantly oscillating between high drama and total collapse.
So not living at the peaks or the valleys?
Exactly.
It sounds boring. I know that's not the right word, but if you take away the drama, what's left?
Dignity. And power. We are so addicted to the roller coaster because it feels like we're living. But real power is stability. Think about the people you trust the most. Are they the ones who flip out every time something goes wrong?
No, they're the ones who stay calm when the building is on fire.
Exactly. Governance over the self creates trustworthiness. If you are stable, you become a safe harbor for others. That creates authority. Emotional intelligence isn't about controlling the world. You can't control Gary. You can't control the economy. It is strictly about governing the self.
That brings us back to that clear zone concept we touched on in the very first conversation. That alignment of mind, body, and spirit.
When you're in the clear zone, you aren't leaking energy into unnecessary drama. You have more fuel for the things that actually matter.
Okay, so let's get into the practice. Because Rice gives us a very specific protocol for this. And I like that it's simple because when I'm triggered, I can't remember a complex flowchart.
It's a 5-step protocol, and it's designed to integrate everything we've learned in part 1.
Step 1.
Pause. This is the hardest step. When that emotion rises, that split second where you want to snap, you do nothing. You insert a wedge of time between the stimulus and the response. You take one slow belly breath.
Just one breath.
Just one. It's enough to trip that circuit breaker we talked about.
Okay, step 2.
Name. Identify the emotion silently to yourself. I am feeling frustration, or I am feeling betrayal.
Why does naming it help?
Because naming it engages the language center of the brain, which helps dampen the emotional center. It's something called affect labeling. As soon as you put a word on it, it becomes an object you can look at, rather than a fire you are burning in.
Okay, I've paused, I've named it. Step 3.
Ask. Ask the question. What is this feeling teaching me? Engage the analytical mind. Is this fear? Is it a boundary violation? Is it just exhaustion?
And step 4.
Delay. This is the discipline part. You wait. Do not send the email. Do not make the phone call. Do not confront Gary just yet.
How long do we delay?
Until clarity returns. And biologically, the chemical flush of an intense emotion lasts about 90 seconds. If you can wait 90 seconds without feeding the story, the physical intensity will drop.
Wow.
If you respond before that, you're responding under the influence.
That's such a good rule of thumb, 90 seconds. And finally, step 5.
Set boundaries. Once the fog is cleared, you look at the situation. Where was kindness mistaken for weakness? Do you need to speak up? Do you need to walk away? You take action, but you take it from that stable terrain.
It really is an order of operations. Recognition first, response second.
If you get that order wrong, if you respond before you recognize, you get chaos. If you get it right, you get alignment.
It's empowering, but it's humbling. Because as we wrap up part 1, the mind, there's a reflection question in the manual that honestly just stopped me in my tracks.
Which one was that?
Do my emotions guide my decisions or do they drive them?
That's the pivotal question of this entire section.
And I have to be vulnerable here. For most of my life, they have driven. I have been in the passenger seat screaming while my fear or my anger or my insecurity drove the car right off a cliff. And I called that being authentic. I called it being passionate.
And that's a very human experience. We're not taught this stuff in school. We're taught algebra, but we aren't taught how to handle rage.
So true.
But the fact that you can even ask the question means you're already shifting. This isn't about being perfect. You will still have days where you lose your temper. You'll still have days where you cry in the bathroom. The goal is not to be a robot.
Right.
The goal is simply to move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You still feel the speed of the car. You still see the road, but your hands are on the wheel. That is the wise woman.
I love that. We're not trying to stop the car. We're just trying to drive it.
Exactly. And that concludes part 1 of the Wise Woman Code. We have laid the mental foundation. We have learned to govern the mind.
And next time, we move out of the head and into the physical. Part 2, the body. I have a feeling that's going to be a whole new challenge.
It is. But for now, take that practice into your week. Pause. Name. Ask. Delay.
We'll see you in the next conversation.
Until then.